Welcome to Tales from the Majestic Mothership. Majestic Hudson fosters connection, inspires creativity, and supports a compassionate lifestyle, one blissful experience at a time. Please follow us at majestichudson.com and all social media where we can help you follow your bliss. Bonjour.
We're back.
We're back.
I'm loving the consistent episodes. It's so
I know
fun.
it's like, well, Ellie and I both realized today that we both go to therapy on Tuesday, and now we're doing the podcast on Tuesday. So
it's like a double whammy of therapy.
also it's got a little bit of credibility, folks, because if we've been to our therapists and then we speak to you, chances are the information is pure. Has some credibility to it because it's been pre-screened.
Yes, it's advice you should follow.
Our minds have been washed.
Yes. Don't listen to a goddamn word we say on Tuesday mornings because that is all of the residual bullshit that we've been dealing with during the week that's just unfiltered and not screened. So, but or now we're in the afternoon.
If we crunch the calendar and we do it on Monday by accident.
Oh my God. It would you all would be like, oh my God, they finally cracked. We all knew it was going to happen, but we didn't think it would happen this soon.
Oh my God. Well, I'm excited about today's episode because I'm going to dive into something we both love.
I know.
also have these cool gypsy cards.
I love them. Pull later. So
apparently,
pretty.
Did you know that it's illegal to do fortune telling in New York State?
Really? Why?
Fucking fact.
Why?
Yeah, I've been working around that edge. Yeah, old laws and shit. Remember they used to burn witches at the stake? Remember that?
Yeah.
So there's some residue
the old days.
Rolled into New York State, and you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to sell snake oil. All the things I like to do. They're just I can't do them.
Me and my affinity for snake oil. There's one thing I've associated you with.
I'm just kidding. I know, I'm not kidding.
No. Oh God, people,
the world, man.
I know. It really boggles my mind how quick people shut down things that they don't know about or that make them uncomfortable.
Well, that's why. Except for organized religion, but that's okay.
Well, yeah, but that's what makes them comfortable. So
nobody could see us rolling our eyes.
Yeah, okay. But they could feel it and hear it.
All right, no disrespect, folks.
No.
Talk about something way out there.
Yeah, that's it. We're a bit jaded.
Yeah, right. This is a good segue, actually.
Exactly.
So, as if fortune telling and organized religion wasn't enough for us to be guided by in our beautiful little lives, today we are going to present to you the lovely cocktail that is astrology, the Kabbalah, the chakra system, the I Ching, amongst other things known as the human design experiment.
Yay! Cue the applause. We've been wanting to do an episode about human design forever.
Yeah. We this is an interesting topic, folks. We will have to put some things in the notes for you. Totally. I'm going to say a little disclaimer, as a fortune teller should, to not get arrested. No, I'm just kidding. Is that this is a meaty topic.
Mm-hmm.
And it is literally I do readings for people. I just want to let plug that out there, along with our astrologer residents who can help you with lots of other things.
Yay.
And I will say that human design was a game changer for me, to find out what my person is born into this planet, both from a conscious and unconscious perspective. So I'll start with a little teaser. So just to give you a little bit of background, and like I said, we're going to put some notes into into our notes field, and you guys can look up your own charts. You could call me for a reading specifically if you want. I do suggest you don't dive down the rabbit hole too far. This is a journey. Right. It's literally, I love that when they call it an experiment,
mm-hmm.
right? Because we all have different ways we we go about on this planet, right? And how we live and where we've been and what we are bound to do. It is something that you should craft for yourself, particularly see if your type resonates with you. And if it does, dive in full force as we have.
Yeah.
So let me start with a little bit of history before we get thrown under the bus.
Yeah, exactly. Before we read ourselves.
Yeah. But as I talk about organized religion and whatnot.
Yeah.
So let's start that. Okay. It was originally rooted in somewhat of astrology, right? So human design, I will just say, was actually channeled, proper word, by a man named Robert Krakauer, right? Who has become known to the masses as Ra Uhu Hu, right? And that is his spiritual name. Now, Ra, the founder of the human design system, was born in Canada in 1948. And in 1989, he heard a voice. He followed a voice and began to channel what is now known as human design. It's a combination of like the philosophy, as I told you, the astrology, I Ching, how the spirit comes into us, how we were born, what our conscious is, what our unconscious is. So it's a full spectrum, if you will, of your human experience, right? And it's built upon all of these different systems and how they come together. Now, when you go in and you get your chart, you get a body graph. It's called a body graph. And you could type it in. Like I said, we'll give you somewhere you could get a free chart online. It gives you a certain type. You're a certain type, right? And that's where you begin the experiment. So now this chart that you see, which is kind of fancy, it's kind of cute and fancy.
Yeah.
Right? Is the chart basically? It looks a little bit like a little chakra system chart.
Yeah.
So to speak, right? There's all these different energy centers of the body. Some of them are defined. Some of them are undefined.
Yeah.
None of that is good or bad. They all just are.
It's giving fancy pineapple.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Nice.
Thank you.
I love that. A little bit sweet.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, I feel like he would be living in Hawaii at some point in his life, like eating pineapple somewhere.
Yeah.
But it does look like a pineapple.
It looks a little bit like a pineapple.
That's hysterical. I'm going to talk about the types and then we'll get a little bit in there because I just figure facts are good and then we could dive into some other stuff. So there's just like in astrology, you have your sign, right? And most people out there, if you could give me a woo, would relate to the fact that you understand what your sign is, or maybe like your sun sign, your moon sign, your ascendant, what have you. And you have some relation to that, right? In human design, there's 5 design types, right? And here are what they are. So there's generators, right? And they make up like 70% of the population, right? So they're like the builders, they're the working pieces of society, right? They have a lot of energy, right? Hence the name generator, right?
Yep.
Clearly, I'm not a generator. I should be napping right now. They don't ever get burnt out. They love starting new projects and kind of, it's like a foundational type.
Right.
So to speak, right. So they make up the biggest part of the population for the most part. Then there are manifesting generators, right? They're a little bit like 33% of the population. They are jury's out. Well, the jury isn't out because, again, I'll get thrown under the bus by the purists, but I'm going to tell you my interpretation. And if you're a manifesting generator, you will figure out your interpretation, right? It's known that you are your own type, right? Very much, but it could be a combination of both being a manifester and a generator. So you tend to manifesting generators look for new things in life. They spark joy, they spark projects, but they also need to kind of rejuvenate. They tend to speak things into existence, and they're spontaneous with their energy, right?
Yeah.
Then we go into projectors, right? Projectors are about 20% of the population. They're the deeper thinkers, right? They're the informers, right? They could get burnt out. They don't have as much energy as generators, manifesting generators.
Right.
They don't always have a calling to be recognized, but they do find it amongst society and people because they are such a wonderful support system in so many ways. They wait for people to be recognized. And that's a little bit of a waiting game, but then when they're recognized, it sort of opens out this whole like skill set that makes them a very vibrant part of society. Okay, then we have manifestors, right?
Hi guys. That's both of us.
Now I do feel like we're on a TikTok video.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not jaded. No, seriously.
But it is why we're best friends.
It is really, and we actually just compared our charts, and it makes
total sense. Yeah.
So manifestors, and again, there's none of these are good or bad. We're just cheering because we are manifestors, right?
Yeah.
And it's an interesting type. Manifestation is a big buzzword. It's work that we do in general. Most people do out there. But this is the name of the type as well. They are very different from manifesting. It's called a manifestor. Okay. They're about 7%, 10 to 7% of the planet. And we speak things into existence. We're initiators, right? Mm-hmm. We have a tribal mentality, but the way we come across comes out in different ways because we'll get into all that kind of stuff. And we tend to be happiest on our own, but we also are really good at communicating and kind of amplifying happiness in many ways.
Yeah.
And then there are reflectors, which are, get this, 1% of the population.
Oh my God. Is that, which one's Althea? Your daughter?
She's a projector.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a projector. Yeah. They're the healers of society, big time. They have like a correlation to the moon in particular, other than all the planets. And they, being very rare, they know they can absorb negative energy, turn it into light, those kind of things. Like I feel like reflectors are the ones we could be like much more fairy tale like.
Yeah.
In that sense. And I do know one reflector, actually.
That's cool.
I always wonder about that when I do people's charts. I'm like, when am I gonna have like a real conversation with a true reflector? So but anyway, again, we're all special. So
totally.
Yeah. So what did you think when you first heard about this? Because you remember, I now talk to people and I'm like, so what's your birthday? And they think I'm looking up their sign, but I'm really looking up their body graph.
Right. Well, my story with it was when I was 19, and I think I was on my way to turning 20, and you said, I'm gonna give you a human design reading, and I was like, this woman is cracked. What does that even mean? I think we had just had that crazy caffeinated matcha tea, which for you and I with our caffeine intolerance, it basically looked like we were like on an ayahuasca trip, but it was literally just tea.
Just matcha.
It was literally just matcha, but it was more than enough. And so I had no idea what any of it meant. And then you gave me my chart reading, I think, on my 20th birthday, because I have been here for pretty much thousands of years at this point.
We all have been.
Yes. And it was so cool because not only did I find out that I'm a manifestor and what that means, but you found out why we're so compatible, because I am a manifestor like you. And it was just like, it was similar, yet I think a much more intense reaction to when I took I forget what it's called, but it's like the personality type test. It's
similar. It's similar. Enneagrams, the Myers-Briggs.
That was it. The Myers-Briggs.
For those of you who are skeptical of us, this has an interplay.
Yeah.
There can be some exchange between these things because they work into similar directions in terms of learning about it.
And it was just so, for lack of a better term, freaky in its accuracy, because in terms of the scientific alignment, I've kind of been less curious, but in terms of where I align spiritually, I've always wanted to know, but never really had the tools to identify, because there's just been, as a manifestor, a lot of very weird coincidences in my childhood where I think something and then it happens, and
exactly
shit like that. And so just hearing that, with being a manifestor, but I'm also very reclusive and I have a hermit tendency.
Yes, we're gonna get into those a little bit if we have the time.
Literally am the proclaimed the hermit. I very much relate to that. And just, I don't know, I am someone who takes a lot of comfort in terms and labels. So for me, it was just really fascinating and also kind of comforting to be like, oh, like, you're a manifester and this is the type of manifester you are. And like, it even went down to like the type of environment where I take comfort in. They were like, like the chart was like, oh, you take comfort in kitchens because they're like that warm hub where like all the people you're close to gather around. And I was like, this is fucking weird.
It's
like,
so on
I love kitchens.
So on point.
How do they know? How do they know that I love kitchens?
/ manifester.
Yeah, like it's wild. How do they know that I'm always in the kitchen? Like that's crazy.
Oh my god.
So
there are actual parts, like, I'm gonna digress here, and I haven't even been able to dive this deep because some of these teachings and some of the like text, if you will, are kind of wrapped up in his lineage. Like, you know, not everything's free.
Right.
You know, you do, like, certain people do have to have very much a, you know, you training, things like that. You know, I did one small training, but obviously my work is much more intuitive and I overlap with many different disciplines. So that's where I'm coming from. But the one thing that really hit home for me was, which I think we'll jump into before we start talking about like conscious and unconscious, is the idea of the auras of the different types. Because that made the most sense to me. And usually when I work with clients, that's the first thing they understand. You know, like, it's one thing to look at the pineapple and be like, what the fuck is that?
Right.
Like, what's on my head? Why is my head a triangle and it's red? You know, and all these other things I know.
Exactly.
I wish we could just show you. Well, you guys, we could share a screen, but anyway, we'll put a picture somewhere.
Oh yeah,
but, we might have to do that. So, but if you guys look up your chart, you'll see it, but you'll know what we mean.
Yeah.
But every aura is different for the types. So, like, okay, so generators have an open and enveloping aura. So if you're a generator, like, you know, you get along well with people, you're like, all over, your strategy is to respond. You know, you respond to things. Somebody asks you to do it, you go ahead and do it. You figure it out on your own. Your non-self theme is frustration. So if you're feeling frustrated, you're not in your authentic power, and you might want to self-correct that any way you want. I'm not going to get into all those details. We don't have a lot of time. And your signature is, you know, satisfied, you know, so you're a bigger part of the population, right? You know, 70%. So 70% is open and enveloping. Now, projectors their aura is focused and absorbing. Like, I love that. When I'm around a projector, I just want to go like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm getting like melting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I love having conversations with projectors.
Right.
All of you do. Like, their strategy is to wait for the invitation. Right? When they're in their non-self theme, they tend to be bitter. And their signature is success. You know, they aim for success. And usually if they could wait for that invitation until it opens up, they will be very successful in many ways, shapes, and forms. It's so funny. Apparently Ross said that this particular type surfaced in the human population in 1781. Non-energy types, they recognize others' gifts and master the system. Okay, we should give some examples of people. Sure. So Barack Obama is a projector.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Okay. I'm going to go backwards for a minute. Okay. Reflectors, their aura is resistant and sampling. And their strategy is to wait a lunar cycle. So again, they're very involved with the moon.
Gotcha.
When their signature is surprise, you know, that sort of surprise, and their non-self theme is disappointment. So they should move through their disappointments because they have to like generate their own energy. Right. Getting back to manifestors, right? Our aura, I hate this, close and repelling. And it's not in a bad way. I hate these. Some of the words that come into the system are really tricky.
I completely disagree. I love that. I think that is perfect.
Manifestor strategy is to inform.
Right.
And our self-theme is anger and our signature is peace.
Right.
So that's we joggle between people can feel us kind of coming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they can also feel a projector. Right. I don't want to make
Right.
this about two manifestors do a podcast kind of thing. We're trying to
That's true. That's
human
true.
design. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to look up some other famous, let's go back. So look up a famous of each one. We already said Barack Obama was a projector.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look up a famous, manifestors, generators, or anything. See what you come up with.
Famous generators. Okay. I've got some pretty good ones.
Go.
In terms of famous generators.
Allez.
Albert Einstein.
Woo! Generator.
Oprah Winfrey.
Of course she is.
Right. Robin Williams.
Oh, good.
Who I love. I love Robin Williams.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Was brilliant, I should say.
Yes. The Dalai Lama.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Is it are all Dalai Lamas? That's another good question because
that is a good question.
Okay,
those are the top 4 that I have.
Okay, cool.
But
so you guys get an idea of that. Okay, let's look up famous projectors. We got
okay. Oh, I love this. This is so fun.
But this gives you guys a little bit of a flavor before we get into some other stuff.
This is like, oh my God, I'm about to confess something kind of embarrassing. This is what my roommates and I love doing. Like, we love sitting in the living room and like taking different quizzes.
I love it.
All right, let me look. Okay. So we've got a few. We've got Johnny Depp.
Ooh.
Which is kind of interesting.
Let's compare his chart to Amber. What's her face?
Amber Heard. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that they're not very compatible. Marilyn Monroe.
Ooh, interesting.
Demi Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth Taylor.
Cool.
Yeah.
That
was fun. I know.
Those are fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Famous manifesting generators.
Famous.
I'll look up the other ones to save us some time.
Manifesting. Oh, top to right up on me. Look. Manifesting generators. Okay. We have quite the variety in these top 4. So the top 4 manifesting generators who are famous, Mother Teresa.
Oh.
Stephen King. Miley Cyrus.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And Martin Luther King Jr.
Cool.
These are all very influential people and are also creatively two of them in terms are artists and they're my idols.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
Shout out to MGs.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Okay, I've got some manifestors.
Great.
Although, okay, be careful of your sources, folks, too, if you're looking for an expander for your type, because I'm looking at manifestors and I don't know why Johnny Depp's here too. But
oh yeah.
But I do know some of these other ones. So famous manifestors. Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh.
Cool. Right? And Susan Sarandon.
Wow.
Because I am always she's Thelma, right? Thelma and Louise, or she?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Jack Nicholson, George W. Bush.
I definitely feel like I have a lot in common with Jack Nicholson.
I don't know why I think you're right.
I just, when I first saw
funny little laugh every once in a while. Sneaky, creepy.
Yeah. When I saw him as the Joker, I thought he was my brother. Like, it's just.
Oh my God. Okay, let's see. What are we left with? Do we do reflectors or no?
I don't think so.
Okay, you ready? These are good.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm so excited.
This is a cool one. Sandra Bullock is a reflector.
Oh, jealous. I love Sandra Bullock.
She just seems like one.
Yeah, she totally does.
Just is such a good human, I don't know, just in general, I think.
Yeah.
H.G. Wells was reflector.
Very nice.
Let me see. Oh, I think Amma. Do you know
Oh.
the woman who gives all the amazing hugs? Do you She's one. Rosalind Carter. Interesting.
Oh, cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's a good combo. Okay. So we've got the types down.
Oh, yeah.
Folks. We got the types. So here's some cool facts that I love about human design. So here we are. It sounds a little bit like, okay, it's kind of like my sign, my astrology sign or something else, right? But this thing is when you look at this body graph, you start to understand how the energy in your body is defined and undefined, right? And you can course correct and know the best ways to tune yourself in many ways, shape, and form. Now, the idea of design that comes out when you see this chart, there's all these numbers, right? It's a little bit like you look like you are Albert Einstein, right?
Yes.
Like, why do I need to know all these numbers? What's happening in gates and channels? It's like this amazing map, this thing, a graph, a blueprint, but it is like a map of your life, but also your unconscious life in many ways. I like to even think.
Yeah.
So then all the gates are come out from two places, which I love. The moment you were born, right? That is your personality. Those are all the black numbers, right? And then the red numbers is your design, which is 88 days before you were born. When your soul, your consciousness kind of came into your body and went away, right? Your unconscious was being evolved. That I love.
Yeah. I do too.
I just, that's the one thing that's like every other system I feel just doesn't have.
Right.
Is we are these like supreme beings that have an existence that is not just, in the flesh, and our consciousness and our purpose is somehow, I use this word very lightly, but predefined,
right?
Or becomes defined, or shapes itself into us, and vice versa, right?
There's
concrete examples of how we are, because it's very solid in some of these definitions, but at the same time it's fluid because we could course correct.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, it's not necessarily that it's not so rigid in the way that we understand destiny and fate to be. Like, it's not,
putting it.
It's not like determining exactly who you're going to be, the discoveries you're going to make, what like your career path is. Like, it isn't so rigid in that. Which honestly, if it were, I think I would be inclined to believe it a little less, because
good point.
Because realistically, 88 days before you're born, in the spiritual sense, you still are growing and developing. You already exist.
Right. Yes. True. Good point.
So, so it's the fact that, these things are are basically being suggested energetically before you are out in the world. Which I think is really cool, and I think adds more authenticity to it for me, because spiritually, yes, I wasn't born yet, but I was still growing. I was still existing, and it was decided by my mother that I would come into this world. And so as a result of that affirmation, I then was open to receive the spiritual makeup that I got before and after I was born. I think that's the way that I like to look at it.
That's incredible. That's a really amazing way of looking at it and seeing. I never really thought of it that way before. Like, to take it like into the conscious, like I love the unconscious realm always. This particular experiment allows me to be more conscious, because I'm always unconscious.
I know. we love our naps. That's what we shine.
But I also just mean, like, I love to meditate. I love to I love to be in these surreal places. You know what I mean? Like as a human, I like to supersede reality.
Right.
in a very organic way without substances, by the way.
Yes.
So this is like just being born, like the fucking beauty of like being born.
Yeah.
Like being created and being born makes you an archetype. Like you're predestined to be a certain archetype. So to me, that's also like, you know, I always talk about like, you know, Campbell and stuff. It's mysticism. It's the hero's journey. Right. So like, not only are we these types, but we also have these archetypes within the body graph. Right. So I'm going to this is a good time to like kind of roll into that. So all these numbers that come up in your chart, you know, there's like 4 6s and 1 3s and 2 4s. And like, I'm not going to it would take us all day to go. And again, if you guys want charts, like look them up online or call me up. I could do it by Zoom too, because it's like really great to have like real life examples of where you're coming from and how you were born. So I'm going to talk about the archetypes. So everybody also has these sort of combinations of archetypes. So the 6th one is the role model. Like my archetype, I'm a 4-6 profile, right? So my 6 is the role model. It's like, and for example, that energy is optimism, like Buddha, peacemaker, like duh, am I not that?
Yes,
hello,
totally.
Right. Okay, the 5 is wait, what numbers are on your chart? Remind me again.
I'm 6'2".
You're 6'2". Okay, so you're a role model too. That's also the opportunist in many ways, right?
Yeah.
Then there's number 5 is the heretic. I don't always love these words, but which is leadership, general, like the savior. You know, the heretic is always like on the outskirts, but they're the one who kind of fucking knows what's going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? Then he's suddenly like swooping out of nowhere. I'm like, hey, I'm weird, but I got you. You know what I mean? Then the 4 is the opportunist, right? Friendliness, the people person. Again, like I'm a 4-6, so that's that. When we get to yours, give a holler. 3 is the martyr. I hate that name of it, but that's a person that has a lot of trial and error. They tend to adapt. They experiment. You know, so like that martyr could make sense because you experiment, then you're in the know. Like, yeah, I got this.
Right. Totally.
The number 2 is the hermit.
I'm 2.
There you go. Which tends to be like also the guru quality, being very natural at what you do, having extreme talent, that kind of thing, right? That does have to be cultivated from an introverted space, right?
Yeah, this is guys where I'm like, what the fuck? How do they know?
Yeah, like that makes so much sense, right?
Yeah.
And number 1 is the investigator. So that's introspective, have ability to be more like a chameleon, also like a researcher, like that type of thing. So honestly, if you guys get your chart first thing around, I would say that you need to right off the bat, not only look at your type, which is easy, right? But look at your profile, you know, and because that will tell you based upon what we just told you, that gives you some little clues.
Yeah.
Not even clues. It's just like aha moments. Like, oh yeah, I am, you know, a opportunistic role model. Like, yes, I am a role model hermit.
Yeah.
Right. Or whatever you may be. Like that particular thing really makes me feel kind of like, yes.
Yeah.
And then when you realize you were birthed this way, that this is your call to adventure, that's when it opens up.
Yeah.
That's the journey, man.
Right.
Now I totally sound like a dude from the 60s.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
but
man.
It's nice. Yeah, literally, she's gone. It's just me now. But it also provides like I mean, again, as someone who, and to each their own, but who takes comfort in the labels and the explanations, like there's a lot of like behavioral traits in my childhood that just make so much sense
now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like for example, whenever I would stay at my grandparents' house and I was like not even 2, my mom said that I used to talk to myself in like full baby babble, but I fully was having a conversation. And as I was doing it, my grandma would give me like a little basket of cherry tomatoes and I would take one by one out and put them into rows. Just sitting on the kitchen floor. And And my mom, because I was the first child, was like, oh God, like, what does this mean? Like, what's going on with this fucking kid? Is she possessed? What has happened?
You're like, at least it's just tomatoes.
Yes, exactly. But
you didn't come out of the womb with like runes or something.
No. Luckily not. But like, of course, with kid one, you know, it's like my mom doesn't know. She's like, oh my God, like
I know.
What is this kid? But it's now based on my human design chart, I now realize that was my introverted creative expression at that age.
Great example.
Yeah.
Great example. Also, like understanding your profiles and your archetype and then living in your strategy. Like I'm throwing around a lot of terms here, but like, remember guys, we want to empower you to be your authentic self.
Totally.
That person that you should be consciously and unconsciously, whatever it may be, you know,
right.
Design, they call it like a strategy, right?
Yeah.
But to me, it's like whatever makes you be you, right? Yeah. Okay. So archetypes. So, you know, archetype, however you want to look at that. I mean, we talk about famous people and expanders and stuff, but if you look at yourself as like your own wonderful superhero person that you are, you know, we fall into types, but we have all these like beautiful things about ourselves that we have to interact with others and be on the planet for. And, you know, the journey is finding that, right? That's your call to call to adventure. So when you talk about your archetype, your path, what you're supposed to be, your spiritual warrior, spiritual superhero, what have you, right? The way that human design can help you is that it also helps you to realize, I love that you talked about yourself as a child, right? Because at the end of the day, whether you're using human design or you're using Myers-Briggs or whatever it may be, like for your personality and what have you, is that we also are raised and conditioned by society and our families and all that other great psychological stuff that kind of comes into play here, right?
Yeah.
And when we know our blueprint, we know not to fall into those conditioning patterns, which is why I love it when, like, you know, you 20 somethings or younger come in for a reading or an astrology chart reading, because you have this information like decades earlier than like I did.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so that you could start to naturally embrace yourself as you were born into consciousness and unconsciousness, right?
Yeah.
And that becomes a celebration of yourself.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is like, especially with like I think one of the major cons of our societal construction is it's really stigmatized celebrating the self, because that's not considered to be efficient or, you know, worth the time. And I think the reason why I'm so drawn to human design is because it invites you to celebrate those characteristics and to celebrate those quirks. Like my lining up tomatoes and talking absolute babble to myself at age 1 wasn't seen by my parents as like a mental illness or a learning disability. It was seen as something that was, I mean, cute for one, but also like creative and spontaneous and unfiltered. And I mean, to give my parents credit, it was never something that they shut down. No.
And same with my family in some way, as, you know, a manifester. You know, in some ways I was raised by a generator because, you know, that's just what the pattern of family was, you know, work. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
You know, but my job is to inform, you know, I am more of and whether I'm informing through my artwork or, you know, informing to all of the collective, you know, I'm not a doer, I'm an informer.
Right.
You know, and if you are a doer, you shouldn't be taught to inform.
Right.
And, you know, if you're out there to be like a peacemaker, you know, maybe you're not. Maybe you're supposed to be responding.
Right.
You know, there's lots of variables that you can mix and mash in a little puzzle to make it perfect for you.
Totally. And like, if you have been exposed to an environment that hasn't invited you to do that, human design is a great forum to be able to do that, to celebrate your archetypes and your spiritual makeup, if you will. So it's a really great platform to be able to do that and to understand yourself in a new and nuanced way, which I love.
I love that. I mean, we invite you to explore what your profile is, and to just allow the sensitivity of those variables to allow you to be you.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love it.
Like, I think it's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, you could get a free chart reading from the Jovian archive site, which is the premier place to get it. That is what, Ra's, his particular, platform, so to speak.
Totally.
And there's a lot of other resources there that you could pay for. And there's, we didn't even get into the gates and the channels and all that, folks. So start small.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we want your mind pure and on the journey and not blown and scattered.
Yeah. It's a lot of different information. And it can definitely get a little overwhelming at times, but I think the main takeaway is it's a really fun way to understand yourself more. And it's a great way to celebrate who you are and what your tendencies are.
Exactly.
It's just fun. Just have fun. If you want to dive right into it, then you can totally feel free to do so. If it's something you want to ease into and just like see how enjoyable it can be, you can do that too. It's all intuitive. There's no wrong way to do it. Really.
It really is. It really is. We a lot of us know. All right. Well, enjoy that, folks. That's a little bit of like a learning cast. I'm going to throw a little oracle at the end.
Yeah.
And we'll go back to the ASMR with the Gypsy Witch fortune telling cards, and let's see what it comes up with, and we'll end with that. Stay tuned. And we will talk to you soon. So let's see. First, we got the cards. It's all in the cards. Okay. Number 43. Lightning denotes surprise. Disagreeable in accordance to distance. Number 6.
Mm-hmm.
This is a new deck.
Wow.
Okay, we just told you to organize your whole life, and now I'm just like,
yeah, exactly.
I have not have to really sit on that one for a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't like the word disagreeable. I don't. Number 6, though. All right. Well, maybe you guys have some ideas of what you want to do with that one. But that's the Gypsy fortune telling card deck, telling us that, lightning has some effect. And we already knew that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Discovery can be shocking and surprising.
Indeed. Indeed. All right, guys. We will talk to you real soon. Have a good one.
Bye.
Ciao.